I don't need a like to get it poppin', but these bitches in my business cut me out to choosing violence. If you see me out in public, you don't know me, keep it silent. In the bedroom, I be screaming, but outside I keep it quiet. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, what's going on, y'all? What is going on? What is going on? I intended on using my camera this time because it catches better images, but you could already see what the camera looking like. Thing is never charged, so that's my bad. What's up, y'all? Hope y'all all doing well. Hope everybody had a blessed day. I had to stop. I'm never really out this late, but I had to stop and get some of my little essentials. Sometimes I'm a baddie without limits, and sometimes I got limits. So this is definitely one of the eyebrow pencils I use when I can't get my benefit pencil, or I just don't feel like spending $30 on it. And sometimes, I won't say as a dupe because it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. But it does stand up when I'm not going to do my little Smashbox liner. I do this liner. Actually, my 19-year-old, she put me onto this. Yeah, this is actually really good, believe it or not, by CoverGirl. It's really, really good. So, anybody looking for those things? If you're like me and you just haven't jumped on the microblading trend and all of that, and you do your eyebrows still, there you go. That's a good alternative. But the best is Benefit, but they got me a little tight right now because they've been discontinuing a lot of things. So, let me sit up a little bit because I do be on here looking a little frumpy. And definitely another must-have. Definitely another must is my freaking Aveeno, because I don't use anything on my skin. Well, let me say this. I don't use anything on my face that is really sweet smelling, like really heavily perfumed. I've never done that. I have done it and it didn't go well. So my mother always taught us, like, you know, to use things that are like natural or no scent, or, you know, so for your face at least. So Aveeno is like my go-to. It's one of my favorites, even for full body care, but especially for my face. Like, I cannot, that's why I went and grabbed a little one, because I cannot go without that when I want to moisturize my face. CeraVe is also very good. My daughter has some difficult skin to deal with as far as with acne and things like that, and she really likes CeraVe. So CeraVe, from what I've seen, I've also used it here and there, is a very, very good product. It's not cheap. If you think Aveeno is expensive, yeah, CeraVe is not cheap, but it is excellent. So those are my little tidbits. But I wanted to come on here because, you know, I noticed that everybody's been talking about the Ashley Janae situation, and, you know, just kind of giving their thoughts. I listened to a few podcasters talk about it, and kind of give their opinion. I'm noticing a lot of the black YouTubers are definitely kind of, you know, 10 toes down on that story. Because, like, for me, as far as with my personal algorithm, this is something that I've just been trying to do. I've been trying to diversify my algorithm. So not only listening to, you know, primarily black YouTubers, even though I do, that's just my particular choice, but also having an understanding of, you know, some different mentalities and mindsets, whether it be different sides of the political spectrum, so left wing, right wing, news media. Sometimes I do listen to white men talk just to kind of hear how they think. That's something new that I've been doing. just to have, like I said, to have an idea of how they think and the things that they talk about. A lot of science-based things, a lot of historical-based things. So I try to diversify my personal algorithm, so that I'm not... I find that an algorithm could really have you out here looking crazy sometimes. If you feed yourself so much of the same thing, it'll feed you. It'll give you what you're asking for. So that's been kind of my own personal goal, is to just diversify my algorithm. But with that said, this whole Ashley Janae thing, it brings up a lot of emotions outside of the obvious fact, right? So outside of the obvious fact that she was a beautiful girl, one of, I would say, our top, like, as far as in looks. I didn't really follow her, so I don't know what the person was like. So I can't speak to that. But as far as, like, looks, sis was put together. Undeniably put together. Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. And so it kind of brings up a lot of feelings because, for one, it brings up this whole kind of, like, I wouldn't necessarily label that city girl. I would say, yeah, like soft life. That's kind of how, from what I saw, that, the way that she kind of promoted herself was like a soft life kind of situation where she's dating, like, this older white gentleman, and he was very, very wealthy, so she had access to things that maybe other people wouldn't have access to, a particular lifestyle. And so, that's kind of how she showed herself as far as in the media, right? And so I noticed that that's been a thing. I know that has been a thing for some time. These whole, like these platforms, you got some girls that are doing the city girl thing. You got some girls that are doing, just like she was doing, the soft life. You got people who kind of push the motherhood thing and the single motherhood thing. Like, there's so many different routes and different lanes. And I'm noticing the clusters and the different people who, fall within those clusters. You got even like Tinkle Tinkle. So I don't know if she would fall into soft life. I guess she would fall into soft life, but more so consulting on how to find yourself a sugar daddy as a sugar baby, that whole kind of thinking and mentality, whatever. And for me, it's like, to each their own. Like, who am I to judge? Who am I to say, you shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't act like that. You shouldn't feel like you should live your life like... Look, by all means, especially when people are grown, if you're grown, you do whatever you have to do. I think what makes it dangerous is when that stuff is being promoted to younger girls and they don't have the brain processing power yet. And in order to have that brain processing power, you need to have lived life. You need to have learned experiences. And so you're finding where a lot of these young girls they're following these freaking these platforms, right? And they're following it, one, without full context of what comes with that life. Because as we all know, social media has a way of only highlighting, well, as far as for the individual, it has a way of only highlighting, or people have a way of only highlighting the good things, the most luxurious things, the best times of life, but very, very rarely, and funny enough, that's a whole cluster in itself too. That's a whole niche, is the people who talk about the rawness, the people who might show their natural body, the people who might show, like me, like I show myself without makeup, I show myself with makeup. I don't have a problem with doing that. I'm not a slave to looking a certain way or having to be a certain way or having to do this. For a long time, I've never allowed myself to be a slave to certain things. And so, I think that's where things get dangerous, is you're teaching this lifestyle, you're teaching it without full context. And then when things like this happens, it kind of like pulls a rug from under a lot of girls who probably been looking up to her and probably been saying like, oh, I wish I could live like that. When I get older, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it makes me afraid. For one, I have daughters. I have a 19-year-old. I have a 14-year-old, going on 15. It makes me afraid for them and some of the mentalities that are out there and that are promoted to them. Some of the things that are pushed in their algorithms, not just from what they're searching actively, but also from what's pushed in their algorithm. Because I do also believe that when it comes to an algorithm, that there's things that are funneled in there that nobody asks for. And that's for a bigger picture, for a bigger reason, for a bigger cause. And I know that, I want to say I know for a fact that it's not the people we want pushing things into our young people's algorithm doing it. It's people that we wouldn't necessarily want doing it, the 1%. And so that's where things get a little, dicey. So that's like one leg of it. And I really, really, really want to see that stop. I know that she had done like a few music videos and things like that. And like for me, when we were younger, I'm 41 now. And so when we were younger, the video vixens was it. Like everybody knows that. Like the video vixens, we looked up to them. We idolized them. We saw them in all the videos. And it was so funny because at that time, if I remember correctly, it was a particular group. So you had like Buffy the Body, what's the other? Gloria Velez, Melissa Ford, all these badass, beautiful women. And it was a small, even Corinne Steffens was a part of that, and so many other girls. But it was a controlled group that we knew. And even though we didn't have the social media and all that, the magazines showed us it. So we knew from that. The video showed us it. It was just a different time. And so with me being older, I would say that I'm kind of happy to see a little bit of that dying out and not being the same. But what is being replaced with is so much worse. What is being replaced with is, even though we didn't know them, right? But even though we knew the likes of these video vixens from the magazines and from the videos and from the radio too, we didn't know them like these kids know the socialites now and the social media influencers. They know them on a whole different level, because what Instagram has done in a way has given like a familiarity. It's given some type of like an indirect link. And what people don't often talk about, like people talk about DMs and all of that, but they don't talk about how these celebrities will connect with who they want to connect with. These vixens or these girls that's out here promoting whatever lifestyle, they connect with who they want to connect with. Cardi B, as big as she is, can connect with whoever she wants to connect with. Whoever that one person is that might be standing out to her, she could connect with them if she wants to. They are very clever. People are very clever in the way that they will connect with young people or people that are just on, social media platforms and stuff like that. So you never know. Like, and if the celebrities are doing that, you think the madams aren't doing that? You think the pimps aren't doing that? They're doing it. And so I think that DM culture is spoken about, but I don't think it's spoken about in the way that it really goes down. There's a lot of things are. They come out later on. Years later, we find out, oh, that's what was happening. Oh, okay. you know? So that's one part of it, is that, again, you know, I think a lot of us were happy to see the objectification of those video vixens kind of come to an end and fizzle out. Not that you want to stop somebody's bag, because for me personally, I don't want to see nobody's bag stop, ever. But sometimes that uncomfortability as far as with one bag stopping and pushing a person to figure out another bag, sometimes that shit needs to happen. And that's what did happen with a lot of them, a lot of the vixens, right? And so you have that part of it. Then you have the whole interracial relationship dynamic. I honestly think that this is a bigger topic now for a lot of reasons. I think that right now, politically, racialization is a big thing politically right now, especially for Black people. And let me tell y'all right now, you getting to know me, I'm gonna always talk pro-Black, always. And you, just like you should never say never, you should really never say always. But that's usually my standpoint, is from the standpoint of a Black woman, which I am. And so, you know, I really do believe that that's why this is highlighted a little more, because I personally believe Black men and Black women are for each other. And I think that not even just historically with slave trade and slave kind of rearing, you know, and how, you know, things were done during that time. Not even just that leg of it, but also other conditioning, right? So conditioning against Black beauty, conditioning against kind of the pure form Black, which what I mean by that is the Black who really is a law-abiding citizen that does what they have to do, you know, but because as a group we're so demonized, like on the news and on different publications, it's a conditioning that has taken place that it just always seems like Black people are up to something, or we're not as professional as everybody else, or we're a bit shady, or whatever the case is, right? Which ironically makes us have to be so much more. It makes us have to be so much better and have so much more and push to be so much more and learn more and be on top of our games. And when we do good, it isn't honored sometimes, not all times. Sometimes it isn't honored the way it should be. But then when we do bad, or if we make a mistake like humans do, forget skin color, right? It's highlighted. It's brought to the forefront all the time. In most cases. In most cases, it's brought to the forefront. It's highlighted. It's reprimanded publicly. It's used as a learning outline to say, don't be like that. Don't do like that. Be better than that, right? And so, you know, that I do honestly believe that we need, as Black people, to start finding ourselves back with one another, like our ancestors and forefathers and foremothers did. Understanding the sanctity of marriage, understanding the sanctity and the power in the Black family dynamic, and not only creating that, but maintaining that and structuring it. Not just maintaining it to keep it going financially, monetarily, but also creating a structure bubble, and basically wanting, best way I could say it is when I speak of structure, I'm speaking of thinking of the generations to come with that mindset. That's how I'm really thinking. And so I think it is important for us to kind of get back to that and kind of understanding that and recognizing it and just seeing like where we've gone wrong as a people. Not saying that interracial relationship is wrong. You love who you love. You love who you love. But I think going forward, it's important for us to follow some cultural traditions that other groups have followed for so many years, keeping their communities strong, keeping their dollars circulating in their communities to further strengthen their communities. Teaching that culture, preserving that culture. It's so many layers to that. So again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You know, people do what they're going to do. People do what they're going to do. And people should be able to love who they want to love. I really do believe that. I do believe that. But I just see the power in numbers, right? And I see the climate that we're going to be in. I just feel it. I see it. I just have a feeling of where we're going. And so that is why I personally believe that blacks should be with blacks. But it is what it is. So you have that. You have that leg of it. Then you have a thing where I'm finding in a lot of these interracial relationships, from the conversations that I've listened to and the things that I've read, you're finding where there's a fetish aspect to it. So, for example, I know you guys have seen the memes where black chick will be out either shopping or eating at a restaurant, and then she panned the camera over her shoulder, and I won't say it, but y'all know what I mean. It's the you get what I'm saying? There's an idolization that comes with that fetish. And we really have to stop trying to act like that shit don't exist. I cannot go in and look, I'm I know I'm beautiful. I know I might not be this person's cup of tea, that person, but for me, I'm enough for me to drink. I don't need to be nobody else's cup of tea. I know what I present, and I know what I possess, and I know my worth. And so what I'm trying to say is, I believe I'm a baddie. I've been told I'm a baddie. I feel that way. And I still know that there's badder bitches out there. Like, let's just keep it real. There's some badass females out there. And that's not to discredit me or anything. That's just being realistic and speaking in real terms and in real time. And so if I could go into a store and be followed to see what I'm touching, see how I shop, what I'm doing, I'm pretty sure there's other females that's happening to. If I'm getting a gaze that might be a little tad bit uncomfortable, I'm pretty sure other people are getting that gaze too. And I think during these times coming, it's going to be important for us to have these real conversations and to really highlight a lot of the things that are done that we notice, but we don't want to speak about because we don't want to step on toes, or because we don't want to be canceled, or because we don't want to be looked at a certain way, or we don't want to be judged. You know, my little daughter, she's very sensitive. And when I wanted to start doing this, like just kind of vlogging and just kind of giving my take, and just for me, like right now, I'm just kind of seeing where things are going. I'm going to try a few different things. I'm going to see what happens, and I'm just going to let it flow organically as I possibly can, right? But my daughter, when I started this journey, she's like, I don't want you to do this. And I'm like, why? You know, like, why don't you want me? And she's like, you know, people are mean, mommy. You know, she don't want people to say anything mean. She don't want people to, you know, attack, bully, whatever. And I would think most people would know that that comes with the territory of this. So that's something that I have tried to come to terms with. I've tried to be prepared for it so that it doesn't come as a shock. But you can only prepare but so much. I think there will always be somebody that will surprise you with their words and their choice of words. And that's what makes vocabulary and linguistics and even discourse analysis, where you look at how words are used and written and, you know, spoken and, you know, different things like that. That's what will always make wordplay interesting. That's what will always make rap and poetry interesting. Like the other day, I was and I'm getting off a topic, but I'm gonna jump right back on. I was watching Maya Angelou, the great Maya Angelou, and I went down a Maya Angelou rabbit hole. Like I watched tons of videos by her, and I just was so inspired by that lady. I was so inspired by her, just the poise that she had, the elegance about her, the confidence in her wordplay, just so amazing. And so again, that's what will always make our usage of words, you know, interesting. And even not even just Maya Angelou, but George Carlin. As interesting as a character as he was a wordsmith at his core. He was a wordsmith. Nas is a wordsmith. So you have people like that. But I'm kind of getting off the topic. So that's pretty much why she didn't want me to kind of jump into this sphere. She didn't want me to jump into this world, but scared money don't make no money. And so I've never been one to succumb to my fears. But I say that to say, you know, there is a fetish aspect to it. There is. And I would never say, because, you know, I promise you, sometimes when I meet certain folks, certain queer folks, and they show me another side, they show me that they don't move that way, and I'm not picking up any kind of like hidden agenda or just like a funniness, or even like an intimidation sometimes. When I'm not picking those things up, because I'm always actively searching for it. I'm always actively searching. I'm always listening. I'll have a listening ear, but that ear will listen to you. And so I never close people off unless I need to. But when they show me a different side of it, that they can come from a place of love, unbiased love, it makes me feel biased. It makes me feel like there is good out there. You can't say everyone is the same. And everyone is not the same. Everyone is not the same. There are good queer folk out there. There are good people out there. No matter what race they come from, they just have a good heart. And they just have love in their heart. And they don't want to see anyone get hurt. They don't want to see anyone be mistreated. And that's even with cultural conditioning. Because everybody gets it. It's just for those who take it and ingest it, and for those who let it slide off. And so, you know, like I said, there are good people out there. And so when I see that, you know, it gives me a bit of hope that things can change, even though a lot of times when I hear people say things will never change, I hate to hear that, and I don't want to hear that, but I can understand why a person would feel that way. I can understand that. So again, I want to give that as a disclaimer. Everybody is not the same. Every queer person, every interracial relationship is not based off of fetish at all. But that aspect does exist. And, you know, it exists on both ends. So it exists on, it exists with clear females, and it exists with some clear men as well. So some clear females and some clear men. It does exist. And so that's it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous, especially if you're starting to kind of tread those waters and see if, you know, if you want to try out interracial relationship and dating, especially when you want to try it out and you're seeing those flags, believe those flags. Believe those flags. That's not the same flag as a dude who can't save money, or a dude who maybe doesn't know how to put all of his clothes and everything. The same thing with a female that can't save money, a female that can't, you know, maybe put her clothes together, put herself. That's not the same flags. That's a different flag that you need to listen to. And if it does not feel right, you need to move on. Because somebody who fetishizes you, that could be coming from so many different places. That could be coming from like a historical kind of a relic, kind of a get out kind of thing. It could be coming from a systemic, I know that I have more leverage than you kind of thing. It could be coming from looking at you as primitive, looking at you as needy, looking at you as actually less than. So that is a slippery slope that if you feel that, you need to take heed to that. And it's funny I bring up Get Out, because Get Out was kind of the same thing, and the flags were there. You didn't listen to the flags. And so there's that point of it. And it's so funny, like me and my man were talking, and I was just reminding him, because we've been together for years, so a lot of things he knows, like he's been there with me, like as I grew, he grew, we grew together, right? Even though he's a few years older than me, I pretty much grew up with him. You know, I went through a lot of things in my 20s and on with him. And so I was reminding him today, like as this conversation had been coming up all over YouTube, and it's even on the news, right? Because we're in New York, we so it's on the news. That's how big this story has gotten. And I was reminding him of this auto body that I used to work at. And it was on Staten Island. And just to kind of give you guys context with Staten Island is broken up into two shores. So you have the South Shore and you got the North Shore. And so the North Shore is primarily where the Black, Latinos, any other race, Indian, whatever have you, right? That's where pretty much everyone is, including some Italians, right? And so like Italians, other whites, you know, Irish, whatever, Greek, whatever. It's pretty much a melting pot on the North Shore. That's to be expected. Now that South Shore, that's something different. If you don't got a FedEx outfit on or an Amazon outfit, what are you doing over here? It is so bad that when I was working at that spot, I remember walking into a Country Donut, and this chick set me up. So it's a family that owned this particular place that I worked at. And the sister kind of maintained the office. The father is the one who started the company. The son basically was taking, you know, the lead from the father and was being groomed to continue on that business, right? And so, like I said, the sister maintained the office part of it, and he maintained the son, like the body shop and kind of doing what the father was like starting to take his hands off of, right? Which is how it should be. So that part of it, I respect it. Oh, but they were like so super racist. I will get into that. I will get into that. Maybe not now, but I will get into that. So I said to the sister, I was like, I need to grab something to eat. And I was like, do you know, this when I first started, I was like, do you know of like any good places over here? She's like, oh yeah, I know of a place you could go. Sis was like, go to the Country Donuts. There's a Country Donuts, like it's in, the plaza over. Yo, I walk into that Country Donuts and it's like the music stopped. Like, all eyes were on me. All eyes were on me. I was so uncomfortable. I ordered my food. I got my food. I never ate that food. Okay? That's how uncomfortable I was. And she did it with a smile on her face. She did it because she knew what I was going to experience there. And there were a lot of other things that happened, during the time I was there. I was not there for very long, as you could imagine. I was not there for very long. But there was like an obsession with, oh, where'd you get that from? And how do you do your hair like that? And, oh, I love your boots. And I remember that's when the furry Uggs had just came out, like the tall, I think they're like $300, furry Uggs, whatever. And my man had bought them for me. And when I walked in there with that, she could not believe that I had those. She's like, where'd you get those? Like, how much? Like, asking me a bunch of questions. And she was shocked that I drove. She was shocked that we lived on our own. She was just shocked at like a lot of things that were regular life things. It's not like I didn't have a home at that time. We were just in an apartment. It was a nice apartment, but we were just in a regular, modest apartment, just living our life. It was just something that I wanted that he got for me to make me feel special. It wasn't like I had 10 pairs of those. It was just a pair of boots. That's how I looked at it. But the way it made me feel was like, why do you have that? How do you have that? Why are you here working if you can have that kind of thing? So that was another thing. We would order stuff. We would order like food and things. And one time I was like stocking the fridge with the sodas. And the father was like, do you even know how to open the packaging? Like we don't buy 12 cases. Like 12-pack cases. Like I've never handled that. Like I've only bought a soda from the deli, excuse me. So yeah, that comment was made. But I bring that situation up, and my homegirl always told me, like, yo, you need to write a book. I always got a story. Always got stories. But I brought this situation up particularly related to this case with this young lady, Ashley Janae. Rest in peace, baby. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Don't let everything from what's going on surrounding your name and your spirit and your energy not allow you to rest. Rest in peace, baby. And whatever signs you got to give those signs to the people that's important and the people that loved you and the people that are advocating for you. And I'll get to that. Because I think there's also a misconception that ain't nobody going to advocate for our asses too. Black women. We are loved. We are loved. But again, I bring up this situation because the brother, he used to look at me some days like he was attracted to me. As a woman knows when a man is looking at her, period. Women, we play dumb like we know. We know when a man is looking at us. And we know when a man wants us. And he used to give me that look, right? And I was talking to my man about this today. And I was just telling him, like, yo, sometimes the dude would look at me like, pretty much like he wanted to fuck me. And then sometimes he look at me like he want to fuck me up. Like, he want to beat my ass. Like, he would look at me with disgust sometimes. And then the next day he would look at me like he liked me. It was the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest thing. And that was prior to me having college knowledge and understanding the gaze, right? And the profoundness of the gaze. And if you've never looked into reading about or studying what the gaze is, I suggest that you do that. I forget what Black author, was it Ida B. Wells? I can look it up and figure out what is the chapter that we read regarding the gaze. If I could find it, I will put it below this video because I think it's important for you to read on that. But yo, that always made me feel like so unsettled. Like, I just never knew like what energy I was going to get from him. And for me personally, I've never really wanted to ever go the interracial dating route. It's just never been something that kind of intrigued me like that. I won't say it never intrigued me, and I would never say that I've never been attracted to a guy from another race. That would not be true. Like, we went to Curtis on Staten Island, and I won't say his name, but anybody who knows that there was one particular white guy, and this girl dated him. She was like smitten with him, so nobody touched him. Nobody wanted to fight her ass because she was crazy over him, but he was fine. He was fine. And he was white. Okay? So I would never say like that I don't find some white men to be attractive. But I think that was something definitely in my history that I was just like, I don't think that route is for me. Like, and then just kind of some of my other interactions with white men, especially in college classes, and seeing kind of the competitiveness from both of us as a Black woman, where we can be very competitive. And I believe white men can be very competitive intellectually. I'm not talking about fashion shit. I'm talking about intellect. Competitive in that sense, right? And so, yeah, like I just never kind of wanted to go that route. And so, yeah, like that. So, again, I bring that up because that's important. Like, it's important to understand, like, that is a part of it. And you really, really need to be careful of somebody. Some of these people are like energy harvesting, and they want to take your energy. They want to suck your energy from you. You got to be careful with who you lay down with. You got to be careful with who you even converse with a lot of times. And the presence and the energy that you allow around yours. So that's that. The other leg of this, and I'm going to start to get ready to close, but the other leg of this is for all of y'all that's in these interracial relationships, stop dissing the men and women from your race. Stop that shit. If you like clear men or you like clear females, like what you like, but I think it's important for y'all motherfuckers, and I'm talking to a particular group, so it's not to disrespect anybody else, but it's important for y'all motherfuckers to understand how important it is to still big up your race in that relationship, to still show respect for your ancestors and for your generations that you're building. It is still important to have the Black knowledge and to be realistic with that. Stop freaking conforming to whatever is being thrown at you, to whatever you're being made like you have to feel like you have to conform to that. You can like what you like, but you don't have to tear down your kin. Stop doing that shit, yo. Because a lot of times, that creates a whole nother layer of stuff. That creates a whole nother layer of stuff. And I'm talking to y'all dating them Latino females and Latino men too. Stop throwing your people under the bus, yo. Stop that shit. And it's this conversation right here, like, I could go on and on with this conversation, because this right here is so emotionally driven. But I've always felt like, I done lost friends over this talk, yo. I done lost friends because I've always felt like, especially with black boys, especially with boys altogether, because of the dynamic of the relationship between a mother and son, it's the mothers who control that narrative. When you self-hate, your son will indirectly take that shit, and that's where you're finding a lot of these young boys that don't want to date their race. They think every black female is dysfunctional in some way, shape, or form, which that's not true. Y'all need to stop that. Y'all can fight with me in the comments. I'll fight back with you too. But I've always maintained that it's the mothers. The mother in any and every household is always going to be the key to either the success or the failure of that household, no matter what the setup is. Teach love for your people. Educate your minds. Even if you are conditioned in a way or you're biased in a way, try to see another point of view. Try to see the positive in your people and in your race. Okay, y'all? I love y'all. And until next time, please don't be mad at me for the things I said. I just have to be honest, and I have to be true to myself. And that's why my daughter's afraid of me coming on here, because she knows how I am. She knows how I think. She knows how I speak. But I got to be true to myself. And with me being true to myself, I'm being true to y'all too. All right? I love y'all. We'll talk. Drop a comment. Anything that I reference and I want to show here, I'll put it at the bottom of this video as best as I can. And if not, if I missed something, you guys let me know. Hit me up. Send me a message. And until next time, all right?